green card, one of your obligations is to provide an affidavit of support. In that affidavit of support, you are representing to the US government that this individual, the intended immigrant, is not going to become dependent on the government as a public charge because you make sufficient income and can step in and provide that support. A public charge is someone who depends on the government for their primary subsistence. And usually that's evidenced by a person having to access needs based benefits, Section 8 housing, um, cash assistance, food stamps, things like that. And the government is saying if you are going to sponsor someone, you are going to be on the hook. If the government provides those benefits to your beneficiary, the government can, by this affidavit of support contract, come after you for reimbursement of those benefits, right? In order to be a qualified sponsor, you have to make sufficient income. Your income must be 125% of the federal poverty guidelines for your household size. What that equates to is for a two-person household, you need to make about 22,000, and I'm rounding up here. And for each additional person in your household, you need about an additional $5,000 per person. Okay. So if you don't make enough income, or for example, you're on a fixed income because you're retired, you may be on Social Security, or you find yourself presently unemployed, it does not mean that you cannot sponsor your spouse or your child or anything like that. You still will be the sponsor, but you will need a joint sponsor who qualifies based on their income and their household size in order to sponsor the immigrant. What is your obligation under that contract? Your obligation is to ensure this person does not become dependent on government assistance, and that in the event they do, you will reimburse the government should the government choose to enforce that contract, right? How long does the obligation last? It will last until the individual becomes a US citizen or until they acquire enough working credit with Social Security Administration, which is about 40 quarters of working credit. 10 years, it can accumulate faster based on how much income they earn when they are working, or until that individual dies. So it could be a very long term contract if the person does not become a citizen when they're immediately eligible, or if they're not working enough to accumulate the credits. So, as a sponsor, you need to be aware of your obligations because as USCIS updates their forms and they shift their focus to this public charge issue more and more, they may tend to lean to want to enforce these affidavits of support contracts. So be aware of what your obligation is. Ensure that you can sponsor someone and that you are willing to take on the responsibilities of being a petitioning sponsor or a joint sponsor. That's your Let's Talk Live for today.